In record time, politicians, pundits, and pinheads alike were rushing to be the first ones to use the word terror in relation to the EgyptAir crash. And when the final verdict is in, it may very well be just that, another planned attack to kill dozens in one stroke. But the fact we knee-jerk every time to terror doesn't help the investigation into uncovering the facts and forces us to ask a more logical question. Are we actually safer than we have ever been despite attacks on those charged to ensure our well-being in the skies? The well-being of America and the two main political parties need to be questioned at this time. So does this theory that if Democrats nominate Hillary Clinton, they would hand the presidency to Donald Trump, because that math and reality has a lot of holes. Reality in the sporting world is simple these days. No one is shocked to hear athletes and governments cheating to win. But with regard to the Olympics, has the drug cheating gone so far as to call for an end of the Olympic Games as no longer being relevant nor trustworthy? Trust us to start the conversation without bending to partisan hacks and talk show hosts. I'm Ed Berliner. This is The Hardline for Thursday, May 19th, 2016.
This is one of the most reliable aircraft in the world. One takes off every 2.5 seconds on the Airbus A320, about 6,000 in service worldwide. It has a safety record that is considered to be on a par with the Boeing 777. Very, very safe aircraft, and mechanical issues with the Airbus A320, while rare, I should say, really don't happen very often. We've had a couple of instances, but they don't happen very often at all.
A routine flight from Paris to Cairo. 66 souls in their seats, most anticipating a return home. All doomed from the moment EgyptAir Flight 804 left the ground. And the world is once again plunged into talk of terrorism, bombs on planes, takeover attempts in the cockpits, and the obvious fact that no matter how tough security measures are, no matter how stringent the baggage check is reported to be, and no matter how many government assurances are played out, you cannot guarantee that traveling by air is 100% safe from those who seek to use airplanes as killing devices. But as presidential candidates and third-rate former members of law enforcement rush to be the very first to tweet out the word terror in order to feed the repugnant souls and egos of many, time and common sense demands we step back, not seek to use the newly dead as pawns in a PR or electoral stunt, and deal in things often overlooked such as facts and evidence. It is deplorable and distressing to think that one person, just one, on board a consumer aircraft for the purpose of business or enjoyment, loses their life at the hands of a killer. And it is that one life that is lost that must drive governments and airline officials every day to ensure that one is far too many. But consider this. In the year 2015 at Charles de Gaulle Airport, the second busiest airport in Europe and the 8th busiest in the world, there were over 497,000 aircraft movements in and out of those runways, almost 500,000. And not one person lost their life in a terrorist action. We call daily for better and tighter security here in America. We assail the underfunded and overwrought Transportation Safety Administration as being little more than a security joke and a hindrance to getting our overstuffed bag into the overhead before somebody else claims that space. In many cases, we have a right to complain. But are we safer than we think? And do we also need to stop pretending that we are not targets each and every day in the world of cowardly killers who would destroy children and innocents for a despicable cause? Put that all into motion. Let's get down to business. Welcome to The Hardline. Rich Roth is Executive Director of CTI Consulting, formerly with the U.S. Secret Service Technical Services Division under Presidents Reagan and Carter. Keith Mackey is President of Mackey International and a veteran aviation safety consultant. Gentlemen, I want to thank you both for joining us. A lot to cover. Let's dig in. To you first, Keith, the moment you heard that EgyptAir Flight 804 had gone off the radar, what was your initial thinking?
Well, the first task is to locate the aircraft. Initially, they had no idea where it was. They just said it was missing for about 3 hours. It didn't take long to find out that it was lost somewhere between Greece and the north coast of Egypt, which puts it over the Mediterranean Sea. That in itself creates a lot of problems because the Mediterranean Sea has an average depth of 5,000 feet, and it goes down to over 17,000 feet. So if we've got wreckage in that area, we're going to have a hard time getting out what isn't floating. So that complicates our investigation. But as you said in your opener, we don't want to jump to conclusions. In my opinion, we've seen nothing yet that would rule out terrorism, but we can't jump to that conclusion and say it's positively terrorism unless we do due diligence and complete our investigation.
I'm going to get to that point in just a moment because you make the very good point. Rich, let me come to you. Knowing full well that there's a part of the planet out there that wants to kill people and use planes to do it, and again, going off what Keith said, we don't want to jump. But when you heard it was missing, the time kept going, the clock kept ticking. What would be your initial thoughts?
Well, I'm the same way. We need to wait. But when you hear how fast it went down and no communications, you tend to believe that something catastrophic happened. And nowadays, when we say catastrophic, we usually start thinking about bombs almost immediately.
Let's talk about that for a moment, because at about 6:27 this morning, Donald Trump tweeted out a thinking process that really didn't have any evidence behind it. It said, looks like another terrorist attack. This is when everybody was still guessing at this point. We didn't know anything. But he used the word terrorism in there, and that got a lot of people very uncomfortable. As a matter of fact, former Secretary of Defense Robert Gates said later in the morning, everybody, including Donald Trump, anybody, needs to wait until the facts are in before citing terrorism. Here's what he said.
The things that you learn fairly early when you have responsibility is how often the initial reports or information you get on a situation prove to be inaccurate. And with the demands of news media and so on, there's always pressure to immediately react before you know really what's going on. And that's a discipline a lot of politicians, frankly, don't have.
Rich, how do we as people, how do presidential candidates, how do we as a world, a society right now, keep ourselves from taking that knee jerk when we are so fearful, since what happened on September the 11th has us thinking that these are the weapons terrorists want to use?
Well, the real numbers are so low as to your chance of being killed in a terrorist incident. It's almost negligible. The other part of it is that this plane came out of France. France is part of ICAO, which is also Egypt, but it also is part of the EU system of regulations. And that's almost as tough as TSA. If you ask the EU, they'd probably say it's tougher than TSA's regulations. So to have a bomb go off on a plane out of there is pretty hard to believe in many cases.
Let's look at that. And again, you mentioned numbers. I want to get to those numbers. 2015 was the safest year in aviation history. 3.5 billion people flew safely on almost 38 million flights in 2015. So, Keith, we hammer away at the TSA. We did it here, as a matter of fact, last night. We've done it on this show and others, how they simply are inept, many people will say. And there's a lot of issues about what goes on there. But is it not fair to say, if we're going to be that they make their mistakes, the lines are ridiculous, they're underfunded, but when you come right down to it, we haven't had anything happen on American soil regarding airline and terrorism since 9/11.
Well, that's true. That's the way things have worked out. Now, this aircraft didn't necessarily have to rely completely on French security. There's ways to bypass that, because the airplane had been in Tunisia, had been in several other countries, and the security there is nowhere near what our TSA is, or what the ICAO TSA is in Europe. And something could have happened there. A device could have been put on the airplane and passed through Paris without having Paris do anything about it or know about it. So that has to be a consideration as well. So we can't necessarily say that the security in Paris was excellent either. There's questions that will need to be answered.
But let's go one step further. Rich, from a security standpoint, what should we be doing? Even here in America, the TSA, what should we be doing to make sure that all these fears are allayed?
I think we're doing pretty much everything we should be doing, and maybe a lot more than we should be doing. Let's go back to your other statement. TSA came into existence about a year after 9/11, stood up somewhere between a year and half a year afterwards. Prior to that, though, we still had screening that was pretty effective. If you look at it, the 9/11 terrorists never, ever beat anything in our security. The only thing they ever did is they brought on the knives and the instruments that they used to take over the planes. They brought those in there through the security system as it was that day. So nobody missed anything. The security screeners never missed a darn thing. In fact, they caught 3 of the guys and asked them to show them the actual knives, which were legal at that time. What they beat was this system. Now the system's a lot better. We have a different protocol in place for when something happens aboard a plane, but we still have to realize that there still can be never 100% security. I remember after the Pan Am incident, I was with one of the victims' family members of Pan Am 103, and he asked me in the green room at CNN where we're at with this, and I said, well, if you're at 95% with the president's plane, you're at about 90 or 85% with a regular plane. To get to that 95% with the president's plane, you would have to shut down the whole aviation industry. It's just too expensive. So we have to realize that we are going to have to put up with a division of risk, a substance of risk that we're going to see no matter what kind of security we try to put into
because at the end of the day, you cannot 100% guarantee that any airport or any aircraft is completely safe. Just can't do it.
Cannot
it's
happen,
impossible.
right.
Okay.
Very true.
But Keith, let me ask you this. There are people who say that the airlines are to blame right now. Checked baggage fees, so many things that they put in for their own greed. Would you say that the airlines themselves are part of the problem and they need to be better prepared and they need to do things differently?
Well, yes, they force people to carry everything on. And that slows down security. It slows down boarding of the aircraft. It's just a way to make more money for the airlines. But the way things used to be, when you could check a bag, we didn't have to carry everything through security.
Without having to be hit with a $20 fee.
Right, exactly. So that's the way the business has evolved. In fact, they do a lot of things now that they never did before. They charge you for any kind of food that you get. Next thing you know, they'll be charging you to go to the bathroom.
10 seconds answer from both of you, please. First, you, Keith. You wouldn't be surprised to find this being a bomb, but again, everybody needs to calm down. Yes?
Exactly.
Rich, same thing. Calm down. Wait for the evidence.
Same thing, wait. But even if it is turning out to be a bomb, I still wouldn't get over anxious about this. There's a lot of planes out there. There's a lot of flights being gone. Aviation travel is still the safest way to go.
And there are a lot of things that we still need to know. We don't know if the doors were locked, if somebody was in the cockpit, why the plane turned as it did. There's a lot of technicalities that we need to look at. We're going to in the days to follow with the evidence. Keith Mackey, Rich Roth, thanks a lot for some common sense as we slow this down just a little bit. Thank you. Perhaps the most ludicrous and laughable thing anybody has said about the likely coming battle between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. I'll tell you what it is. And I wonder why few have taken a candidate to task for choices to possibly occupy the Supreme Court. You know what that means. The political animal is next, right here on the fastest 60 minutes of news. This is The Hardline.